It is the final day in the Premier League on Sunday. All of the matches being played at the same time, but most will be focused on what's going on at the bottom of the table. Spurs taking on Everton, West Ham against Leeds. A draw or a victory for Spurs, and they will be in the Premier League next season. But if they lose and West Ham win, then Spurs will be relegated to the Championship. Gab Marcotti joins us. This should be easy for Spurs, shouldn't it, Gab?
Yeah, on paper, it should be very straightforward. The stars are aligned for them. Problem is, there's a reality of Spurs. There's a negativity surrounding Spurs, especially Spurs at home. And, you know, you look at this and, yeah, it's very much, I think, squeaky bum time. And they're going to be a lot happier when this is all over, if they stay up.
Of course, they may not have to win because obviously West Ham got to.
Yeah, I said if West Ham win.
Yeah.
Well, I did say that.
Kenny wasn't listening.
Well, that's a change.
It's been that kind of day. They're obviously playing Leeds, who have got a bunch of injuries as well. Obviously, they're safe. So you would think, fighting for their life, Tottenham have to believe West Ham. You've got to bank on West Ham getting the 3 points, even though it might not happen. But you can't think any other way. Could you trust Tottenham? Or do they look a bit better under De Zerbi? Yeah. Could you trust them? No. If they stay up, do I think they'll be a much better side next year under this coach? I think they will. But that's all ifs, buts and maybes. They have this home form, Gab mentioned, this crowd that get very angsty and restless because they've seen so much negative this year, particularly in the first half of games. If you think back to Thomas Frank's short reign in charge, they often played better in the second half because they were so bad in the first half. The crowd got on the back and they came out and they fought and blah, blah, blah. And it's just felt that the support has never trusted them since very early on in this season. And of course, they had the chance recently I can't remember which game it was, but it was a big game they were winning, and Danso makes that mistake at the end and they drop points. All these kind of little mistakes come back to bite you in the backside. So if they make any mistakes against an Everton side that not exactly sure what their permutations are in terms of Europe, but certainly they're playing with a lot less pressure. There's not a guarantee here for Tottenham to get the job done. So a big day at home once again for them.
A big crowd expected, of course, for this tie, Gab, but one key man won't be there. Romero in Argentina in rehab.
That's right. Not for the first time. He rehabs away from home. Look, the Zerbi tried to minimize things, saying, well, he spoke to the medical staff and whatnot. But then he also pointed out that, you know, Ben Davies, who could have gone home to rehab, is sticking around, even though he's not playing either. Of course, Ben Davies would just be going down the road to Wales, but I think it's pointed. I think it's an open secret that you know, you look at the number of center backs that Spurs have, as well, of course, as the guy, I'm blanking on his name now, who did so well on loan last season in the Bundesliga. And, you know, Romero is an asset who I think a lot of people are pointing to and saying, well, he's a guy who could be moved on, right? They've amortized his fee. If he has a big World Cup with Argentina, clearly Argentina is priority. Like, it would have been nice to have an extra fan in the stadium, but I think it's pretty evident this guy's mind is already on the World Cup.
It's your captain, Craig.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's just a dreadful look for club and for player. I get it, there's a World Cup coming up, and I've been in that scenario where you do everything to play in the World Cup, but surely a multi-billion-dollar outfit like Tottenham have enough medical facilities to get him the treatment that he needs, certainly short-term, before he goes back to Argentina to prepare for the World Cup, which, by the way, is not next week. His club that he's captain of are in one of the biggest dilemmas with a beautiful, one of the best stadiums in European football, one of the most expensive stadiums in European football that might be gracing the Championship next year. And whilst he can't affect what happens on the field, he can affect the mood in the dressing room, and he can show the support for his team. And in no way, shape or form, if I was playing for any team and I was in that scenario, would I be anywhere else other than standing shoulder to shoulder with my teammates, which, by the way, he hasn't always done this year because of his disciplinary problems, but I would be stood shoulder to shoulder in that dressing room trying to get every ounce out of that squad, the players and the staff, to make sure that they were going to do enough to stay up. You cannot be such a high-profile player and your club may be heading to the Championship and you are Tottenham Hotspur and you are thousands of miles away getting rehab. I mean, it's absolutely ridiculous. It just can't, it should not happen. Gab, I don't care, there is no rhyme or reason why he should not be at that club in one of the biggest moments, not a successful moment, but one of the biggest moments in the history of Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. They could be heading to the Championship. It's all hands to the pump, whether you're on the field or whether you're off the field.
Look, the thing is, Craig, this isn't the first time it's happened. It happened last season too, that he was injured and he disappears and then pops up on the other side of the world.
But Gab, they were not playing the last day of the season, possibly going to the Championship.
No, they weren't. No,
but that's the scenario.
I agree with you. But if you remember, they had a real stinker, and I think they finished one spot above relegation last year. And of course, they had the Europa. They won the Europa League. So there were big games. By the end, he was back. But I think this is just one of those players who. Look, De Zerbi didn't give him the captain's armband. This is something that I think it was Thomas Frank and then was sort of inherited down. De Zerbi's more important thing to do than create controversy by taking the captain's armband away from him at this stage. But I think the club, and certainly, you don't have to be a mind reader to read De Zerbi's words. I genuinely think they've moved on from Romero. There are certain players who are tremendous leaders when they're on the pitch and they're examples to others, when he's not getting himself sent off, of course. But, they compartmentalize everything. And he's looking at Argentina and he says, okay, now it's Argentina's turn. I can't affect anything. I'm moving on. Do you want somebody like that as your club captain? That's the question I would ask. And if, unlikely as it is, he stays at Spurs next season, and far more likely, Spurs are in the top flight, I don't think he's going to be De Zerbi's captain.